Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a journey far south to the Peruvian coast, zeroing in on a site called Caral Supe.
Right.
This is a massive, ancient urban complex, and our mission today is to deep dive into source material that makes an extraordinary claim
And it is a very extraordinary claim.
that this entire city is an encrypted terrestrial mirror of the Pleiades star cluster. We're talking about an assertion that, it radically challenges accepted timelines of ancient history.
It really does. And to understand the source material, we need to frame it through the specific lens the researchers are using, which is astroarchaeology.
And okay, Astro-Archaeology.
It sounds academic, but simply put, it's the theory that ancient peoples designed their most important religious and ceremonial complexes, like temples or pyramids, to precisely reflect specific celestial bodies.
So constellations on the ground.
Exactly. And the material we have is focused heavily on the Pleiades being one of these sort of universal cosmic blueprints.
Before we zoom out to the stars, let's ground ourselves in the terrestrial facts about Caral Supe. I, I mean, when was this place even discovered, and why should we care about it?
Well, we should care because of its sheer age and sophistication. The site was partially unearthed in the mid-1990s,
Okay, so fairly recently.
very recently, and then it was systematically excavated by the Peruvian archaeologist Dr. Ruth Martha Shady Solis.
Right.
Based on the conventional dating that Dr. Shady's team established, Caral Supe is understood to be one of the oldest cities in the entire Americas, dating back roughly to 2900 to 2600 BC.
Wait a minute, 2900 BC.
That's the monumental figure.
That puts it older than much of what we consider the foundational building blocks of civilization. The source material makes this point explicitly.
It does.
This timeline places Caral Supe as potentially older than the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. That is a truly shocking insight that completely rearranges the timeline of organized civilization.
It really does. It suggests that advanced urban planning and monumental architecture didn't just originate in the Old World.
Right.
And what's equally fascinating is the specific architectural style used here. It's distinct, yet it mirrors elements found in massive complexes thousands of miles away,
Like where?
like Teotihuacan in Mexico,
Yeah.
and even certain ancient Sumerian sites in Mesopotamia.
So the suggestion is a shared global knowledge.
Exactly. A common shared understanding of high-level building principles across immense distances and cultures that were, supposedly isolated from each other.
Okay, so let's unpack the core claim now. If the architecture is sophisticated, the central assertion is that it's not just sophisticated engineering, it's celestial engineering. The source material claims the Caral Supe complex is a precise, geometrically calculated terrestrial map of the Pleiades star cluster. How did they even begin to support that?
It's all about mapping 7 specific points. The complex features 7 main pyramid structures.
7 structures for 7 stars.
That's the idea. The geometric analysis suggests these 7 structures correspond directly to the 7 brightest stars of the Pleiades cluster, which, for context, sits within the constellation Taurus. It's a literal map laid out on the sand.
And the researchers we're looking at don't just stop at matching 7 points.
No, not at all.
They get incredibly specific about which pyramid matches which star.
That's correct. They highlight the most prominent pyramid in the layout, which they claim corresponds to the star Alcyone.
Alcyone. And what's so special about that star?
What's fascinating about Alcyone, historically, is that some ancient cosmological models believe this sun was the rotational center,
The center of the whole universe.
around which the entire galaxy revolved. Yes. So if the architects of Caral Supe intentionally gave Alcyone the central, most prominent structure, it implies an astronomical knowledge that is truly staggering for 2900 BC.
And then there's another key structure, right? The one corresponding to the star Atlas. This is where the geometry gets even more complex.
Exactly. The Atlas structure is the centerpiece of this colossal circular expanse on the ground, almost like an ancient plaza.
And the theory is that this circle wasn't just for show.
Not at all. The theory proposed is that it was a gigantic calendrical or astronomical instrument. It may have been used to chart the position of the 12 constellations,
Yep.
or track the long-term cycle, known as the precession of the equinox, or perhaps simply track the months based on solstices and equinoxes.
That phrase, precession of the equinox, is a serious piece of astronomical jargon. For listeners who, don't spend their time looking at ancient star charts, can you give us a quick definition? Why does charting it suggest such advanced knowledge?
Absolutely. The precession is, it's the slow wobble of the Earth's axis. It causes the stars to appear to shift position over thousands of years.
A really, really long cycle.
It takes about 26,000 years to complete one full cycle. So charting this requires continuous, incredibly accurate observation over millennia.
So it's not something a fledgling culture just stumbles upon.
Not at all. If the Caral Supe site was designed to measure or track the degree of the precession, it implies the civilization either inherited that knowledge or was maintaining an astronomical record for thousands of years.
Wow, okay. Now, circling back to that structure centered on Atlas, the orientation is key, right?
Very key.
The source material argues that this large circular field has a perfect north-south longitude, a feature that precisely corresponds to the ecliptic in the cosmos.
It does.
I have to ask for another definition here. What exactly is the ecliptic?
Think of the ecliptic as the great racetrack of the sky. It's the imaginary line in the celestial sphere that traces the apparent path of the sun over the course of a year.
Okay, so it's the main highway for the sun and planets.
It's the central plane where we see the planets in the zodiac constellations, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if your entire urban complex is oriented to mirror this fundamental celestial plane with perfect north-south alignment, that is a signature of purposeful, advanced design.
It's intentional.
Intentional cosmic mirroring, not accidental placement.
What's also fascinating is how the architects integrated the local environment into this cosmic map. The material highlights the site's proximity to a river.
Yes, the river connection is beautiful. The physical layout of the Caral Supe complex is situated at the approximate same angle relative to the adjacent river.
As the Pleiades is to the Milky Way.
Exactly, to the galactic plane. It's an almost perfect analog.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just map the stars, they mapped the stars relative to their own galactic context and then mirrored that exact relationship on the ground, using the river as a stand-in for the Milky Way.
That makes the geometry feel less like a coincidence and more like a cosmic fingerprint. Now, let's talk numbers. The analysis highlights a consistent numerological pattern.
Yes, the geometry suggests a sacred number was employed. The distances between the pyramids have a predominant factor of 13.
13.
Whether measured at 0.13 nautical miles or 0.13 miles apart, the repeated use of this factor strongly suggests that 13 was a sacred number with profound esoteric meaning woven into the site's fundamental dimensions.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material asserts that this kind of sophisticated knowledge couldn't have just existed in a vacuum.
No, they argue it was global.
They suggest the civilizations of Peru and Bolivia share the same foundational source civilization that was allegedly in direct contact with Egypt, Asia, Mesopotamia.
Right, using the exact same math and astronomy. It's a bold, almost unbelievable claim.
And they try to visualize this connection. The source claims that there are ley lines, these hypothetical energy lines or alignments, that originate from Peru.
And they intersect globally.
Linking major pyramid constellations like Giza, Petra, Babylon, and Angkor Wat. It's painting a picture of a single ancient global intellectual heritage unified by this Pleiades template.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We're transitioning from the geometry of the site to the controversial interpretations of why the civilization emerged with such incredible global sophistication so early.
Absolutely. Because this timeline it challenges everything we think we know. The source material takes aim at conventional dating and evolutionary theories, and it introduces what they call the flood hypothesis.
So if I'm simplifying this, the source says, sophistication doesn't evolve gradually. It arrives fully formed, meaning the conventional evolutionary timeline must be wrong.
Precisely. They argue that the complexity of Caral Supe and, other massive sites like Giza cannot be explained by the current gradual evolutionary model.
Okay.
Instead, this sophistication is presented as evidence supporting the theory of a universal, cataclysmic, noetic flood.
The one from Genesis.
The one detailed in Genesis and corroborated across hundreds of global myths.
And their argument is that this flood paradigm explains the sudden, simultaneous emergence of entire high-functioning civilizations globally after the cataclysm. It's just a kind of restart.
A restart where the survivors retain high-level knowledge from before the flood.
Exactly. And this leads directly into pre-flood civilization theories, Atlantis, Mu, and Lemuria. And the source material specifically posits that Peru, given its age and astronomical alignments, is the successor civilization to the sunken continent of Lemuria.
That's the claim.
And the surrounding region, Peru and Bolivia, seems to be littered with other anomalies that these researchers cite as evidence of advanced ancient knowledge it defies the evolutionary paradigm.
They gather these anomalies to build their case. For instance, the archaeological records of red-headed mummies found in the region, which don't fit the expected genetic profile.
Right, and the infamous Ica stones.
The ones that supposedly depict dinosaur pictographs alongside humans, potentially challenging geological timelines.
And don't forget the truly bizarre ones, the pre-Inca model airplanes.
Yes, suggesting knowledge of aerodynamics.
Yeah.
And the still immense mystery of the Nazca lines, these massive animal motifs that you can only truly appreciate from a high altitude.
Which begs the question of who they were for.
Exactly. And finally, the local legend of the Stargate of Aramu-Maru, which is claimed to be a dimensional portal. These are all packaged together in the source material as proof that this region holds knowledge far beyond what current academia permits for that time period.
This raises an important question. If this level of science and engineering was present globally, who taught them?
Right.
This is the point in the source material where we pivot firmly into alternative science and the notion of external intervention.
This is where the source leans on ancient astronaut theories and specifically the Book of Enoch. The argument is simple. The sudden, perfect establishment of complete forms of government, law, writing, and sophisticated art is not due to random chance or slow evolution.
But through what?
Through creation and, crucially, intelligent design. And the Book of Enoch is cited as detailing these early civilizations having direct spiritual contact with heavenly beings.
And the source names them specifically the fallen angel.
That's the crux of their theory. These fallen angels allegedly descended and taught humanity forbidden crafts, the very crafts necessary for high-level astroarchaeology and monumental construction, like we see at Caral Supe.
So the Pleiades were venerated because that's where they came from.
They were seen as the stars or the celestial abode from which these angels came, yes.
Wait, let's pause here. That is a massive conceptual leap. We've gone from this pyramid aligns with a star to fallen angels were here.
Yeah.
How does the source material justify such a drastic conclusion?
Well, it's primarily theological and interpretive, based on reading ancient texts literally. The source argues that these angels, presenting themselves as gods, sought worship.
And they promised to return.
They promised to return one day to save humanity. The bridge they offer is the continuity of knowledge. The exact geometry, the sacred numerology of 13, the global ley line alignments.
That's the physical proof.
That's the physical proof of a single, non-indigenous knowledge transfer. And they tie this into the concept of a modern deception, citing the biblical warning that the end times would mimic the days of Noah, where this same level of outside intervention occurs.
Exactly. And that leads directly to their suppression argument. They posit that the intervention of these rebel angels, the interference detailed in Genesis 6 and the Book of Enoch, is the underlying reason why mainstream archaeology aggressively rejects these premises today.
I can understand the skepticism, but what is the suppression mechanism they describe? Why would modern science hide the geometric facts about Caral Supe?
It's presented as a conflict of paradigms. If structures like Caral Supe and Giza suddenly appeared fully formed, it destroys the supposed millions of years of gradual human evolution.
It shatters the timeline.
So the source contends that academic institutions act as guardians of evolution, meaning this evidence of sudden, global, simultaneous sophistication must either be suppressed, ignored, or explained away.
Right, using conventional and often strained anthropological methods.
And the ultimate implication, according to the source, is one of control. They claim that after the flood, this monopolized forbidden knowledge was controlled exclusively by an occult priestly class.
Yes. They argue this class maintained control over the masses, primarily through monopolizing financial, government military, and the social educational sectors. The idea is that the same occult sects and secret societies that maintain this contact are still in positions of global influence today.
Caral Supe is definitively ancient, potentially older than Giza, and the geometric analysis claims it was a perfect terrestrial mirror of the Pleiades celestial pattern.
Right.
And this geometric evidence sparks theories that range from incredibly advanced terrestrial engineering to a universal pre-flood civilization that shared astronomical knowledge across continents, possibly transferred by fallen angels.
So what does this all mean for us? The overarching idea is the profound challenge it presents to the, isolationist view of early human development.
Right, that everyone was separate.
The assertion that cultures across the globe, from the Andes Mountains in Peru to the deserts of Egypt and Mesopotamia, shared mathematical, geometric, and astronomical knowledge simultaneously, all focused on the exact same celestial template.
It suggests a single source,
It strongly suggests a single, powerful source civilization, or at least a consistent global contact that academia currently refuses to acknowledge.
It certainly makes you rethink what you were taught about history. If the Caral Supe architects intentionally mirrored the Pleiades so precisely, the question isn't merely how they did it, but why.
Exactly. What was the purpose?
Were they simply creating a sophisticated observatory for scientific purposes? Or were they building a terrestrial temple meant to honor and anticipate the return of the specific heavenly congregation or angels described in their foundation myths? Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.